Welcome back to another episode of Down in 216, hosted by your boy Will here, man. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling today as we get into another interesting video topic? So, as we go into the first game of the season, it is now the Browns versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and the first matchup of the Battle of Ohio. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button as we get into this pregame analysis. It's going to be our first one of the year. So, first thing first with this game. Looking back at history, the Browns have, and within the Kevin Stefanski and what's the Bengals coach name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the Bengals coach versus the Browns head coach, just within the last 5 years, we'll just say that and take the names out of it. We are 5 and I'm pretty sure 2 or 5-1 against the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Joe Burrow has struggled against the Cleveland Browns. They've played in the past, and the Browns beat them pretty badly in that Week 1 matchup with Deshaun Watson versus Joe Burrow. So it is going to be very interesting to say the least. Now, the spread right now is sitting at 5.5. If you're a person that gambles, that means that they expect the Bengals to pretty much essentially win this game. Oh, excuse me, I want to crack my back. They expect the Bengals to win this game pretty comfortably, but by a touchdown. But within 7 points, we'll say it's not going to be just like a blowout. So it's probably going to be a scenario where the Bengals just outscore the Browns. That's what the average person, non-biased take would be. So just looking at the history of it and knowing these two teams the way we know them, I do think this game is going to be a lot closer than I think the national media makes sense. And I think the average person may look. You may think Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco, why is this close? Why are we talking about this? But if you look just back in the last year, Joe Burrow lost to Jacoby Brissett Week 1 in New England. I don't know what the spread was of that game, but you would assume that Joe Burrow, if you're wondering what shirt I'm wearing, this is my brand, Detrimental Figures. Make sure y'all shop my brand, man. But if you would assume that Joe Burrow would have beat Jacoby Brissett, it's the damn Patriots. They were tanking. Everything Drake made was established at that point. No, they lost. They lost a close game. So it's going to be interesting. I do think with this being a divisional game that they are usually games that they're closer when it's two teams that know each other and a little bit familiar with each other. I wouldn't assume that they are just going to blow them out or do something of that nature. So how do you guys think this will come down? I do think it's going to be a good game from Joe Flacco and Core. Do you know the Bengals got a weak defense? Kevin Stefanski should be able to come out and put up some points early. In the first quarter, I would expect the Browns to come out pretty hot and come out early. And I would expect the Bengals to start a little slow. Now, something that monitors her is that the Bengals did start playing in the preseason this time. So back then in the day, they never really played Joe Burrow in the preseason. And now they got him ramped up. I think he played Week 1, 2, and 3. So they are a little bit, as far as comfortability-wise, I would say, a little bit ahead of us. So I think that is something to monitor. And, if we come out and come from this game and say, hey, the Bengals pretty much essentially beat the Browns, like, what was the reasoning for that? I'm going to blame a lot of it on coaching, because the Browns had the opportunity to get their players ready to play for Week 1. And if it looked like they're not more ready to play than Cincinnati, who in recent memory has came out and not been good against us and has came out and not been good, in early weeks of the NFL season, is able to come out and dominate or be good against us, I think that would put a lot of blame on Kevin Stefanski and this Browns team of how they're handling the preseason and the training camp and, splitting snaps with quarterbacks. And I think a lot of that stuff got to, get brought back up in these scenarios. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what's the results of this game. Just from a football standpoint, a lot of times, and I think a lot of people just automatically give people like he has this pedigree, so he must know what he's doing. But we're going to see. It's all good, and we could talk a lot during the offseason and have a lot of conversations about football. But when football gets played, it's played. And when the film is put on there, you can't really say or do nothing about it. The results of last season was we went 3-14. And this team needs to show improvement. And Jimmy Haslam said that. I know it is a transition year for this Browns as we look to maybe get a new quarterback next season. But they still got to come out and perform and play. This is a team that has always played close to Cincinnati. So it's no way, shape, or form if you got a full season, a full offseason, a full training camp of preparation, knowing you got to come out and play the Bengals week 1, knowing you got to play at home, knowing what's about to go down. And you come out and get embarrassed or lose or it's not like really competitive. That's kind of an indictment in my opinion. I know it's just week 1. I know you got Joe Flacco, but I don't really want to have them or hear them type of excuses, because if the quarterback was going to be a problem, you should have gave Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders more snaps. You shouldn't have Kenny Pickett and freaking Tyler Huntley taking snaps away and taking preseason drops away. You shouldn't. So everything is gonna be tested, in my opinion. We gotta put all it. So if the Browns able to perform, and all right, cool. Now let's give them their kudos and hey, it's a close game. I think it's gonna be a close game, and I don't want to give that like a negative mindset on it, like, oh man, I think we about to get. No, I think it's gonna be a good game. I wouldn't be surprised if we won, but I think like, if that scenario happens, because that is kind of what happened last season, they came out and looked terrible. So we're going to see. We're going to see. I don't want to hear that they're getting into an offense, and I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I don't. I'm, as a fan, as a reporter, as a person that just keeps up with it, I'm tired of that. It's a new offense shit. I think we all, can we all agree on that? You listening to this meeting, can we go? I'm tired of hearing that, because at the end of the day, you had the time in training camp, you had the time in the preseason to prep and to be ready for these type of moments. So if they come out and they not ready to perform and they can't make this a competitive game, that's an indictment on coaching. But I think they will. And I think this is going to be a good game. I think Joe Flacco should put up big numbers. I think that Jerry Jeudy should have a good game. Now, if you look at his last 2 games against the Bengals, he struggled mightily. I don't think he had over 20 combined yards. So I would expect a big game out of David Njoku. That would probably be one of my bigger things I would expect. You can expect a good 50 yards from David Njoku. I think his line maybe at 40 yards right now. So I like Njoku. I do like that we get Sampson out there. I think that's going to catch people off guard, having him second on the depth chart. Dylan Sampson's been getting the bulk of carries in training camp. So I would expect to get a heavy workload of Dylan Sampson just to see what he looks like. And it may put a little bit of pressure on Quinshon Judkins, man, because, if Dylan Sampson come out and he looks well, they might not really beg the Quinshon Judkins to sign or to do anything. So it's going to be interesting. You're going to get to see if Denzel Ward can guard Jamar Chase. Now, I do think Denzel will be out there against him. He asked if he will follow him, and he didn't really answer that question. So I would expect Jamar Chase to have a pretty good game. I know Denzel Ward is out there. This video is sponsored by Detrimental Figures, my brand here. As y'all see, some of the quality of my recent work. You get a signature tag on it as well. We make and really emphasize quality over quantity. So, we try to take and make sure we use the best materials to come up with our shirts and the best designs. Make sure y'all following us on Instagram, Detrimental Figures. So y'all can also get the description down below and hit the link for a shirt. Everything I drop is limited edition. So unfortunately, this shirt is sold out. I don't have any more, but I have different things coming up similar to it. So keep in mind, and I'll keep you guys updated with some of my new stuff throughout these videos coming up. But it's Jamar Chase. Let's be real here, y'all. T. Higgins is probably going to also have a good game, because now you got to rely on Greg Newsome going against him rather than it being Martin Emerson. And, that is a different matchup. So I do think it's the stuff for the Browns to lose at. But at the end of the day, this Cleveland Browns defensive line is dominant. You got Myles Garrett. You got Mason Graham. You got Mike Hawk. You got all them other guys out there. I know y'all probably thinking like, man, he ain't named nobody else. But regardless of the fact, Alex Wright, regardless of the fact that this is a great defensive line. So they should have the ability to overcome the Bengals and Myles Garrett, I think, is enough to be said. If Myles Garrett is able to get home like he always typically does against the Bengals, I don't really see the receivers being able to get off the way they want to, but if you give them time, they can score very fast, and it's gonna get pretty much out of hand. I think this Browns team can be leading the whole game and give it up in the fourth quarter. So it's gonna be interesting to say the least. It should be a very entertaining game. I expect, 250 from Joe. Expect Joe Burrow. I don't know what his line will be. He usually struggles against us. So it's going to come down to that defensive line battle. If you want to do some research, I'll look into the Bengals offensive line and how they've been doing in training camp, because I think they was letting Shamar Stewart get off. So, yeah, the Browns should be able to give them some problems. So, yeah, you having a problem with a rookie, you probably going to have problems with Myles Garrett. So, I say the Browns, I would predict them to win this game. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to think the Browns will win this game. I'm going to take Cleveland to upset the Bengals. (27-25). 27-26. Something like that. Yeah, I think the Browns to upset the Bengals. Or like 30-29, something like that, man. But y'all comment down below y'all record and y'all score prediction. Well, not y'all record prediction. We gonna drop that video, but y'all score prediction. It's your boy Will. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm out.